Hello, I'm Luca De Giglio, and this is the Web3 in Travel podcast, where you can learn about crypto, blockchain, and how the new internet will change travel. I'm recording this a bit less than a week after the Web3 in Travel Summit we had in Porto last Wednesday. Today is a Tuesday. So I had the time to reflect on how it went. And I think this deserves an episode because, it's been the first conference about travel solely focused on Web3. So it has an historical meaning, especially if my thesis proves true, which is like everything is going to move on Web3, or maybe if we can say this in a different way, the web is becoming Web3. So it's going to drop the tree and it's going to just stay the web, but with the ownership capabilities. So in the future, every conference in the world about travel is going to be about Web3. It's like today, any conference in travel is more or less about the internet. Everything is running on the internet, right? So how did it go? In short, it went really, really well. Extremely satisfied with the result. Also because the expectations were not that high, to be honest. We had a trouble selling tickets. We didn't sell many until the last couple of days. So we were actually worried that we had people flying in from other countries to speak. And then it turned out also to simply listen, and we will give them especially to the speakers, not a big audience. Now, the audience wasn't big at the end. I think we reached maximum 35 people in the day, but it was a great number for the room. So it didn't feel empty. It felt more like a small classroom with very interested people. And the vibe was great, in my opinion. Of course, I am biased. I was talking almost all the time, and so I was kind of pumped up. But the way people presented and the way people reacted was honestly refreshing. I mean, we were talking about stuff which was really interesting for all of us. I hadn't had the time yet to get feedback like in a more formal way, but just by talking around and getting feedback from other people, it really was a great event. It was a rainy day. It certainly helped. Maybe some people who were attending the conference the next day, the Vacation Rental World in Summit, decided actually to spend the day inside with us. But I would say only 50% of people there were actually there for the conference the next day. Some people flew in from UK, from Barcelona, and from other countries. So that added a lot of feeling of responsibility. If somebody flies in just for your conference, you really want them to be satisfied with the content. So maybe a way to structure this episode is to see and to talk about each and every speaker, and then other things will pop in my mind. So we had the opening with Antonio Bortolotti, the host of the Vacation Rental World Summit, who explained why he decided to kind of partner with us. And this is explained better in a YouTube interview or chat I had with him before the conference. Our first speaker was Vincent Sampson from Winding Tree, who explained the Win.so platform. So I'm not going to redo the whole speech, but he explained that in a pretty clear way. He actually gave a whole overview of the why and the how. Then we had Mafalda Ricca from Explora. This is a startup from Porto who is already part of a bigger group of startups in the ecosystem. And they are one of those companies who are trying to incorporate Web3 elements in a Web2 startup. So it was also interesting to listen what she had to say, because this upgrade from Web2 to Web3 is going to be very common in the following years. Now, something I have to be clear about. I was basically organizing this conference. I was sitting at the table on the stage all the time. So I couldn't really focus 100% on what people were talking about. So I'm going to re-listen the videos, and I'm going to watch the videos we did, and I'm going to have a better idea of their pitches. So I'm not going to go too deep into what has been said, but Mafalda was basically explaining why NFTs and other Web3 primitives make sense to them, and it's going to be interesting to follow their journey into this upgrade. Then I took the stage and I presented the existing Web3 travel projects, basically Travala, dTravel, Lockchain, and Camino. dTravel was supposed to come, but they couldn't come at the last minute, so I replaced this with an explanation of what they're doing. Of course, in 20 minutes, you cannot really talk about any of these projects in deep, so I gave my quick overview over them, and that's always a delicate thing to do because you don't want to be you want to be objective, because what you want to give is the closest approximation to the truth about what these projects are, but at the same time is my own interpretation. So it's always delicate to talk about other people's projects, also because they're kind of competitors, or at least they think that they are competitors with Trip community. I don't think they are, but still, they are not sponsors, so you don't talk about them in the best possible way. This is a good thing, and they are not, in my opinion, competitors or enemies, so you don't play them down. You try to be objective, but it's impossible to be objective 100% because all these projects are at the beginning of a long journey, and we don't know how it's going to go. Like one thing I said about Camino after the 4 episodes is like, I'm not convinced that we need a travel focused layer 1, but I could be proved wrong. I've been wrong so many times in the past about crypto stuff that maybe in a few years, all travel runs on one blockchain, which is Camino. And so whatever I say, you have to take it with a grain of salt. I'm just trying to kind of interpret it the moment, today's moment, and what's going to happen in the future, which is basically impossible. So then we had our first panel, and that was fun because I don't think this happens a lot in conferences. I invited on stage one person who was not supposed to talk. I didn't even know if he was going to be there. This is Sébastien Grosjean, a French guy from Smiley, which is a PMS, property management system, in the vacation rental industry, completely Web 2. But I know Sébastien is very technical, and he has this rare knowledge also about Web3. So I wanted someone who knew about Web3, but wasn't like starry-eyed. It was more like of a skeptical. I didn't know his position. I knew he wasn't a crypto bro, which is good. And I think the discussion which came out of it was really interesting. I was part of the panel, and Richard Volton is like a guru in the vacation rental world. He's been there for a long time, and he also knows about blockchains a lot. So we had, I can't even remember now, we had Clement from Claros on stage. We had maybe Antonio from Tachyon, and I'm not sure we had anybody else. So yeah, you see, it's a bit blurred. But anyway, the panel, I think it was really interesting. The subject was, is Web3 in travel inevitable or just a fad? And I don't know if we answered that question. Probably not. We just talked generally about things, but very high level, very to the point discussions. Also, nobody was afraid to pull any punches. I don't know if you say like this in English, but nobody was afraid to say what they think. It was very non-politically correct in a way. Nobody was afraid to offend anybody else. And I think this in crypto is really important. I mean, people have to feel they can say whatever they want. Now, I'm not saying we were politically correct. It was not politics at all. But people said what they thought. And that's the only way to get a panel which is actually not boring. Panels tend to be, in my opinion, pretty boring. especially when people think because they are on a stage, they have to be extra polite. No, I mean, in a way, the public wants blood. The public wants people to speak their mind and call out if somebody is saying BS. And so I think we accomplished that. Well, then we already had a lunch. During the lunch, we said, anybody who wants a wallet, please come to the stage. And so a couple of people came, and not me, but Valerio, one of the guys from Trip, helped a couple of people installing a wallet. And that quickly turned into a Web3 personalized lesson. So basically, Valerio spent the whole time explaining basics, but that gave us the feeling that, people who are not in Web3 and who are interested, they need more than that. They need a really in-depth workshop. So we're going to learn this for future conferences. Maybe we can do workshops which are dedicated to people who are actually not in Web3 at all. Or maybe something hybrid, but like this time, but maybe with more time for the basics, which is always hard, because if you have people already advanced, that will feel like a waste of time. So we'll see. But that was interesting to see. And then we had Clement from Kleros. Clement flew in, and I was sorry about that. He flew in from Berlin because there was the ETH Berlin Ethereum conference right during the merge. So he missed a few merge parties. Actually flew back the next day when the merge was happening. The merge turned out to happen at about 5 o'clock in the morning. 6 o'clock in the morning in Portugal time, and he was flying like 4 o'clock or something. So I guess Clement got this merge moment while he was on the air, and he came just for the conference. Then I spoke again, and I spoke about NFTs as Web3 marketing tools for the travel industry. And, I talked about the logic of NFTs for travel industry, our experiments, the experiments that this consultant Federico Nati is doing in Tuscany. He was able to get hotels on board, and those hotels actually are accepting traveler loot NFTs, leader traveler NFTs, trips, and a whole set of instruments we kind of released in the market during our experiments. And I think that deserved a mention because he's doing a lot of, he calls them beta tests, and he made already 5 or 6. So we talked about that too. And it's really nice to see that somebody is using these tools to experiment. Again, we are all experimenting here. Then we were supposed to have an open mic moment, open microphone moment where people could actually talk, but we ran a bit late. Also because during the other speeches, it was very interactive. People were asking even during the speech. It normally doesn't happen, right? You let the speaker speak and then questions come, but we try to make it more interactive. And so people actually ask questions, and when you ask questions, it can go really longer than planned. And after that, so we had Tachyon, Antonio Picozzi from Tachyon, the first travel exchange, transforming bookings into resellable NFTs. And in short, they are not trying to make people buy NFTs for booking. They let people do their bookings in the normal way, and then to give an option to say, okay, you made a booking with whatever system you used. Do you want this to be an NFT so you can resell it later? So they insert the NFT at the end of the booking process, which kind of makes sense. And I got feedback from other people. They found this approach really interesting. And then we started with the workshops. So people took out their computers, their pens, their books. And first, Tachyon, this time with his colleague Vincenzo Bollacorso, he taught how to create and sell a Tachyon NFT, which is NFT for travel. Then Vicent from WildingTree came back on stage to teach how to book on win.so. And that's when we found out that Winso or WildingTree basically came back a little bit on the decentralization ladder. So you have to imagine this line on the left side is completely centralized, on the right end is completely decentralized. And they came back a little bit toward the left because they centralized a part of it. They centralized the part in which the hotels deal with their platform. So if you are a hotel, you don't have to get a wallet. You're going to get fiat money through a virtual card. So they try to make it as easy as possible for hotels. And this comes from the experience they had in these last months trying to onboard hotels. They probably realized it's too much for them to get a wallet and to learn to manage a wallet just for an experiment. And so they basically decided, let's make it easy for them. We centralize that part. Plus, hotels are comfortable with centralized systems. While on the other side, the user, the guest, has to have a wallet. So he's a Web3 user. I wasn't able to follow very closely. The question is, in these cases, when you centralize a bit, is like, what is the real advantage for the user? And I'm going to have to look again. I'm going to have to look at the video to understand better. But this move proves one of the core concepts I repeated often in this podcast. If you want to have results today, you have to centralize parts. You have to make it easy, or let's use another term. You have to give people a login and password interface, no wallet interface. Because people are there. People are in Web 2. You want to give them a solution today. It's login and password, which means centralized. There's no way around it. Unless you have a protocol which is niche and can be used by Web3 guests and Web3 hospitality providers. And at the same time, when you do that, well, you are centralizing with all the cascade effect of a centralized system. And again, as I was saying, the one who finds the right balance today, if this balance can indeed be found, will be successful today or next year or whatever. I personally enjoy more, I prefer to wait for when there's enough critical mass, but this is me. We are not Trips community is not a startup. We are not trying to get results today. We didn't get an investment. Everybody is, earning money out of Trips community. So we have this different approach than a much less concrete approach. Is much more experimental. We are like a lab at the moment, and we're waiting for the right moment. But other projects don't have this approach. They want to solve problems today, and so they do, as everybody else has done before, as Travala did, the Travel is trying to do, Locktrip, and now Win.so too. Okay, Win.so, by talking to Maxim, is much more decentralized, aligned with the ideology, or the idea of decentralization. So this is for them, I think, is a moment in which they say, okay, nice, great, but let's do something useful today. And I find these experiments very useful. Again, we're not gonna solve any problem if you wait for everybody to have a wallet. It's going to take a long time. And as I was saying in another episode, 100% wallet penetration for how wallets are made today is impossible. Maybe even 50% is a lot. So as every experiment in this space is going to teach us something. So it's okay. Then we had Clement back on stage, and Clement did the one which is arguably the most interesting, in my opinion, workshop. So he gave everybody a wallet, basically a wallet with already some test money in it. That were test PNK, so the token of Claros, but on a test net. And the way he did it, I have to admit, I learned something. I didn't know that. So he told people to import a wallet in their MetaMask. And as far as I know, you cannot import seed phrase in an existing wallet. It turns out you can import a private key. So if you have MetaMask and you actually, it's right front in your eyes. I never realized that. There's written import wallet. And if you click that and you paste a private key, not in the form of seed phrases, but in the form of private keys, it actually imports a wallet. Now, two things to be said. First, reminding that a seed phrase is a private key which is going through an algorithm which makes it readable. It's a BIP32, I think, protocol, which makes 12 or 24 words out of the private key. But the real deal is the private key, right? So private key, seed words is basically the same thing, but probably seed words lose some kind of property which make them not importable while in an existing wallet or something like that. But yeah, it turns out you can import private keys. The other thing is, don't play with these at home, in the sense that if you start importing private keys in an existing MetaMask, it gets messy with the accounts. I won't say more than that because this is not the main subject of this episode. But it was good to be done as an experiment on a test net. Don't play with this stuff too much. Actually, when you import or you attach your hardware wallet to an existing MetaMask, that's what you're doing. You have new accounts, and they are clearly marked as Trezor or Ledger or whatever. But yeah, so anyway, Clement gave these fake tokens, and everybody was a juror, so somebody who can judge a case. And then he outlined these cases, like for instance, some person booked a place and the internet didn't work, and it turned out that the internet didn't work because it didn't work in that part of the city. So people were able to kind of vote on this using the Kleros platform. That should have taken at least an hour or a couple of hours to be done properly. So we were kind of running through it. But it was a real world example of how we can try to give the same service as an Airbnb resolution center without the company, just with a protocol. And to be clear, yeah, Kleros is a company, but it's offering a protocol. So Kleros is offering something which, even if Kleros disappears, it's still going to work, and is offering a service in which Kleros doesn't have a saying in the decision, right? So very interesting subject. We've been thinking about this thing forever. It's even in our white paper from 2017. It hasn't happened yet, but it's slowly getting there. And I find this one of the most interesting aspects of Web3, basically dispute resolution with a mix of protocol and people actually judging the case. And I did a couple of other speeches, but very, very quick speeches on basic concepts like decentralization versus centralization. And then we ended up the day with the last, I forgot. No, because this is not on the list. So there were a couple of guys who flew in from London. And just before starting the conference in the morning, I talked to everybody, and it turns out these guys are doing something related to Web3 and travel. Is like a TripAdvisor on Web3. And I said, hey, guys, why don't you talk? And I had left some wiggle room in the conference exactly for these kinds. I wanted to be flexible and to be able to react to whatever happened on the terrain during the conference. And so they were on stage. They had their website or even the slides. I can't remember. Yeah, they had some slides. And they presented their project. And that was fun because I've never seen a conference where somebody just pops on stage from the public. And that was interesting. And they were invited also. One of them was invited on the next panel. And the title was The Main Challenges on Educating and Onboarding Industry Professionals to Web3 and How to Overcome Them. And we had a nice discussion about that. And that was it. The day was gone really, really quick. And at the end, I couldn't believe how smoothly it went. I felt really relaxed, even if I was on stage trying to run operations. I was the guy running the slides on the computer. Maybe next time we're going to try to, organize this a bit better. But the guys from Trips who were there, there were, I think, 6 of us. They were really helpful behind the scenes, passing the microphone, organizing the coffee, checking the tickets. The tickets. So very few people bought the NFT ticket. Most of them use the credit card, which it proves another point. Even crypto people find it still hard to use crypto systems, because that one, for instance, that ticket was on XDAI, so Gnosis, that chain. And even if you're in crypto, maybe you don't have enough of those. You have to go through a bridge and exchange them and whatever. You just put your credit card and you're done. So we're not there yet for those kind of things. And so we we decided to give an NFT ticket, to mint tickets for everybody there, and anybody who shares a wallet will get the ticket as a memory, as a souvenir for the conference. And some people paid less, some people paid more because it was an abounding curve. So we're gonna give more airdrops to people who paid more and less to people who paid less. So the Web3 ticket turned out to be interesting but not successful because there was the easier alternative. Maybe in a future one, we're gonna give as only opportunity the NFT, but I'm sure that's gonna kill sales for sure. So let's see. And now I understand why other crypto conferences are not doing that. Probably it's just an extra hassle. But still, again, when you reach a certain critical mass, it's going to be much easier to use NFTs than credit cards. Staying on the subject of the ticket, the sponsorship, for a long time, it was only done by the first company, My Ibiza Estate. Then I myself sponsored it. So I paid, I think, $720 by replacing the $500 of the first one. So My Ibiza Estate got the money back. I paid $720 for my own company, which is a Web3 consultancy, adormo.com. And then these hotels in Tuscany, they replaced me by paying even more. They paid $864, and now the NFTs have as a sponsor the Bertini Hotels Group, TLLT. And I have to admit, I just realized what TLLT is. This is Traveler Loot and Little Traveler. Because in Italy, limited is SRL, and I thought it was something like that. Now, right now, I realized this was a reference to the Traveler Loot and the Little Traveler, with which they are experimenting a lot, always thanks to their consultant, Federico Nati, who today is probably the most advanced consultant in the world about Web3 in travel, doing actual things in a really decentralized manner. So really congratulations to him. I remember meeting Federico a few years ago. It was before COVID in Florence during a TRIPS workshop in which he didn't know anything about it. And when we explained, the basics of Web3, I can remember seeing his face like, really surprised. Said, my God, guys, this is what we've been waiting for years, the real disintermediation, because the whole travel industry came online. It went from offline to online, dreaming about, skipping the middleman. The internet was promising we're going to do things in a decentralized way, peer-to-peer, etc. And today we are basically working for Booking.com. You know what I mean? It didn't turn out well. And as I said before in the episode, this is because the internet didn't have the trust capabilities. Trust was not a function of the internet. And with Web3, trust can actually be managed by the internet itself. So maybe this is the time we get decentralization. We get disintermediation. And yeah, we ended the conference and we stayed there talking for a little while with people. Then we went out to eat and then slowly fizzled out and the conference was gone. And the next day we had the bigger one. Yeah, that was it. Now, what can I say more about that? Yeah, we lost money. We probably costed us about a couple of thousand of euros. The difference between costs and sales, which was already something we were ready. We planned for that. Maybe we're gonna sell the registration. Maybe you can. Some people asked us. They said, "I cannot come, but can I buy access to the video?" And yeah, we decided to make video to make some marketing for the future. Maybe we're gonna charge for that. Who knows? And we're gonna get a bit of money back. But that's not the issue. The treasury in trips is mostly airdrops. So we have money. It's a pity to spend it now because we are in a bear market and all those tokens we got are really cheap right now. So we'll see what to do. We have time for that. What else? So we are now collecting the addresses of people who were there. Then we're gonna do the airdrops. Yeah, we have already been invited to do another one, to present another one like this in Barcelona in in May next year. We may also decide to do the same thing with the Vacation Rental World Summit, even if Antonio wants, and that will be also in Barcelona in October. So we'll see. When they asked me this before, I was saying, let's see how this goes. But now I definitely think there's a lot of value here. Now, other than the conference, that was another of those moments in which you can spend time together with the guys from Trips. We are a very cohesive group in the sense that we know each other now. We've been knowing for a while. Very independent-minded, all of us. There's no cult here. It's like everybody has completely different ways. Some people, different ideas. Some people are more like Bitcoin oriented. Others are more like traders. It's really, even for me, interesting to be amongst those people. I'm always learning. And then the fact that we could be together with other people from the industry also helped. Maybe we should do something a bit longer in which we actually spend time. One thing I always like to do is to spend a couple of days in a house all together. Maybe do the conference in the house, maybe open to other people. But these times between the main events, when you go out for dinner or wake up in the morning to have breakfast, or just waiting for stuff to happen and you speak, these often are the most precious. And COVID killed that. Even if now we've been able to do this, we could have organized some meetup. We haven't. That was our first one. So yeah, it reminded me very clearly we need to meet in real life, and we need to spend a couple of days together. So at least one night in a house on a weekend together. That could be something we do, open to other people too. Now that we are reaching a bit more people, we could do this abroad. Who knows? There's definitely a lot of value in this historical moment to actually meet, because this is what creates the community. And I'm not talking about just like this, everybody is calling themselves communities right now, but it really becomes a community when you meet in real life. So I'm sure there's going to be more of that. We have a harsh winter coming in Europe as it looks. So meeting is certainly going to make things to make this winter a bit more pleasant. Yeah, another thing I forgot, there was a POIP pop, these NFTs which prove you've been there, proof of attendance. I don't know what we're gonna do with that. I think we should, because you get them when we scan your ticket. So we're going to give tickets to people and maybe find a way to scan them. Or maybe we can do a call with video call and we scan them. So you get the pop. And that's certainly something nice to do. Yeah, it was fun after that to receive a message from Gianfranco Mercado. He's one of the two guys who came from Barcelona. They are from Hospitalidad Emprendedora, which is a podcast. Plus, they have a school for Web3 in travel. So really to the point, they told us they're going to help us if we do anything in Barcelona. He sent me a pop which proves that I met him, which is really fun. I didn't know these things existed. So now I have in my wallet a pop which confirms I met him. So we could do something similar, like you met Luca De Giglio, get your pop, you have it on your kind of curriculum. It's fun. I don't say this is like something which needs to be done or is important, but it's certainly interesting that there's a way to easily prove that you met a certain person. I'm sure that if you meet important people in the future, maybe that helps you getting a job or in any other way. It's like LinkedIn, but LinkedIn like more provable. So probably much more powerful. We'll see how this goes, but that was interesting to see. What else? Yeah, one thing was fun with the coffee station. So we pay this local catering company to have coffee and water basically for people. And at the beginning, I told them we're gonna put this table outside. So if you want a coffee, you could just go outside, drink the coffee, whatever. Sometimes you want to get out and speak with people, get some air, etc. And then it turned out that there was gonna be inside the room. The room was small. And I was afraid that was going to be noisy. So we had a discussion with those people. We wanted to move it out. Then we decided to hide the coffee during the speeches, etc. And then it turned out it was just enough to cover the table with a blanket, and it worked out. And since it was quiet, we removed the blanket at a certain point, and then somebody made a big noise, and it turned out it was one of ours. It made the bottle fall down. I don't know what. Anyway, it is not easy to organize such a small conference, so I cannot even begin to imagine the difficulty in organizing a big one. But again, it was really, really great. I'm grateful to everybody who came as a speaker, who came as public, and the Trips, the guys from Trips community who helped. And this not being a company, not being a startup, nobody's getting paid. It's not even like an association. It's just people who want to make something nice happen. This was a really, in my opinion, a huge success. And also the proof that we are, as individuals, we can find ways to coordinate successfully out of the usual frameworks, which are like companies and associations, etc. So great week. It's over now. We are in, we had the high. Now we're going to have the low. So we need to plan something new at every level, at the protocol level, something we can build, and also another conference or something like some workshops. So now my brain is just, looking ahead and trying to see what we can do. And, we have to do it even better. So let's see what comes out of this. And any feedback, of course, is appreciated. And well, till next time. All right. This is the end of today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. For more insights on Web3, follow me on Twitter @tripluca, TRIPLUCA, and see you next time.